We're up. All right, we'll give it just a minute to let people start rolling in. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. Welcome to the Third and Central podcast, the only podcast dedicated solely to the University of Louisville baseball program. This is Matt Sefcovic, and as always, I'm joined by Terry Pennington from Inside Louisville Baseball. As Louisville picked up a massive W tonight over Miami to move into the driver's seat of the super regional. Missouri obviously would not be playing here. They were absolutely atrocious. They're the laughingstock of Power 4 college baseball. So apologize for the disrespect there, Miami. But Louisville is in cruise control. They get in the driver's seat after a big win today. And it was a journey to get there with a delay to get the game started, and then the short delay there towards the end of the game in the 8th inning. But nonetheless, Louisville picks up a big 8-1 win. Terry, I know you're there. We've got a lot to talk about. We'll jump into everything. But how's everything going your way?
Yeah, tough to be, baseball wise, man. Tough to be much better than than the feeling is right now for sure. Just like you said, a little bit of a long day, right? I mean, just with the weather and kind of in and out a little bit and wait and but man, when they were between the lines today, the boys were on their A game, and that makes for a really really good day. So yeah, riding high right now. Let's see if we can just look. They're rolling. The boys are feeling good. It's contagious, right? And so just really looking forward to what the rest of this weekend hopefully is going to bring.
And we are live tonight on this wonderful Friday night after Louisville picked up a big win. So get in the comments, get in the chat, talk to us. We'd love to hear what everybody has to say. We've already got one comment in here that I'm not going to read the whole thing because we can't do that, but someone is upset with the SEC and excited about Coastal Carolina, which made me go check the scoreboard. And Coastal's up 5-1 in the fourth right now on Auburn. That game's at Auburn. So hopefully that holds true. Before we jump into the Louisville game, I do want to talk about kind of what's going on around the country because other super regionals started today. Obviously, ACC was off to a really good start as North Carolina beat Arizona 18-2. Just really controlled that game early and didn't let up. And that's one of those UNC teams we've talked about all year long. If they don't need to score many runs because the pitching that they've got and that bullpen and starting rotation, that's just a nasty bunch on the mound. They're going to score 18 runs. They're obviously going to beat anybody with the arms they've got. So, good news, UNC wins the game. Bad news, 18-2. It's just one win. You still got to win one more. So Arizona's not out of it, but UNC is in the driver's seat there. Man, Florida State though, what a brutal loss they took today. They were up 4-1 at Oregon State. That's the 9-8 game. Florida State's the 9, so they traveled out to Oregon State and up 4-1 in the bottom of the ninth, and Oregon State scores three on a pass ball and then a single, I believe, all with two outs, and tied it up. Go to the 10th, and Oregon State walks it off. The good news for Florida State, they held, well, good, I don't know why they did this, but they held Jamie Arnold. So they've got a top probably 2, 3 pick in the MLB draft that's going to be throwing tomorrow. So they can easily tie that one back up and force a game three out in Corvallis. And then obviously the ACC had to win the Miami Louisville game. So had a chance to win three, but just pulled off two with Florida State choking. So early on, ACC's, they've obviously done well. We talked about them last week. What are your kind of thoughts, and is this what you expected? I mean, did you see UNC beating Arizona like that? Obviously, like we said, Miami and Louisville, one of the ACC had to win, but I think Florida State and Oregon State is one of the ones that we had circled that we were most excited about after talking last week.
Yeah, I do really like. Yeah, I actually really do like that Arizona team just in general. I mean, they didn't they didn't put their best foot forward when they played us earlier in the year. That's a really good baseball team. Obviously, Summerhill's fantastic. I mean, he's a top 15 pick, maybe top, might even sneak in the back of that top 10 there. So, they've got a lot of dudes as well. I guess from my standpoint, I thought Carolina, being at home, I mean, tough for Arizona. I mean, I know that we're going to play, you know, late morning baseball tomorrow, but I mean, that's a 3 hour time change. You're playing at 9 a.m. over there. I kind of thought they would give Carolina and Arizona the 3 o'clock game just to be nice to Arizona, and let them play at noon their time. They obviously did not. And Carolina's pitching staff, though, uh, you know, obviously they've got some great frontline guys, but that back end, is filled with freshman arms, and they've wavered a little bit here and there, but for the most part, those dudes lock it down. And look, they didn't need them today. I mean, look, if the way they pitch, if Carolina hits even remotely close to that, I mean, you might be handing them a trophy when the whole thing's over. I mean, their back end, their pitching staff is that good, and so I definitely didn't see 18-2. That's for sure. I mean, I thought Carolina wins that, but I mean, maybe in two, but it wouldn't stun me if Arizona got one. But now you never know. Is Carolina ride too high? Is Arizona now down and they're kind of down on themselves? Maybe they don't come out ready tomorrow. You never know. And man, Florida State. Hopefully, there's a good. I mean, we don't know what the thought process is. Obviously, right about why they decided to hold Jamie Arnold, but man, tough to think of unless there's some sort of injury reason, or he needed a little more rest, or he didn't respond well coming off his last start, or however you want to say, because he was lights out last weekend. I mean, it was at least 7 2/3. It might have been more. I think 7 2/3 though for sure. So, and he was dominant. And so, man, uh, that that's a puzzler to me. But even if they still should have won. And that's the thing. Like, even if it is him throwing, I mean, 4-1 lead into the ninth with two outs and just a runner on second. You got to be able to close it out. And I know Oregon State can hammer the baseball. Um, they can pitch too a little bit, but I mean, I think they're more known for their bats, right? At least this year. And so, that place out there in Corvallis, man, that is a place where magic happens. And as far as college baseball goes, and they made it happen today. So the Seminoles, if they want to bounce back, I mean, I said it on here a couple. I think I've said it a few times over the last couple 2 3 weeks. I mean, that's a team I think can win the whole thing because of their pitching staff, and it let them down a little bit today. I mean, was it 5-4 and 5-4?
Yeah.
If they get one in the 10th there, so you maybe you got to score more to beat that Oregon State team, and so they got them. You get them down, man. You gotta step on their neck, and Florida State didn't do it today, and they obviously paid the price.
I watched the majority of that one, and Florida State had quite a few opportunities to score more runs and throughout the game, and they just didn't do it. And in the end, that's what that came back to bite them. As good as the pitching is, and as solid as it's been all year long, you got to score runs. At this point in the season, we talk about this. It seems like runs continue to elevate, as the season goes on, especially this first game of the Super Regionals. But as you get deeper into the weekend, you start seeing more arms and you start seeing repetitive arms, that somebody throws in Friday and then you see them again on Sunday. There's a familiarity there. So, but when you have the chance to plate a couple runs, you got to do it. And that was kind of the story of today's game, which we'll talk about. And obviously Louisville's on the right end of that, but that's the name of the game this time of the postseason. So let's talk about the Louisville game, because man, it was one we'll be talking about for a long time. And I want to start with the fans. Card Nation showed out today. 5,776 fans, and some media members showed up. It's the seventh all-time attendance for University of Louisville baseball program, and I think tomorrow's just going to be higher than that. I really do. It's a Saturday. People aren't working. Most people aren't working. 11 a.m. they're going to get up, get ready, go to the ballpark, hopefully throw a couple hot dogs, hamburgers on the grill, do some tailgating bright and early in the morning, take some eggs, sausage, pancakes, whatever you want to do. If you want to fire up the Blackstone and get the crowd going. But tomorrow's going to be a rowdy place. We saw today what it looked like, and I think tomorrow is going to be exponentially greater crowd than what we saw this afternoon. But I think, to me, the reason that you can tell Louisville baseball is back is we've got shirtless dudes on the rooftop when Louisville scores, dancing around. They've got dogs up there. The men's basketball team was there. They were rowdy. They were into it. They weren't just there. They kept showing them, and they were into every pitch. They weren't just kind of there as spectators and hanging out. They were up cheering. So hopefully that kind of sticks, and we can get some of these guys and these fans to continue to come back. Not only tomorrow, but in the future. Next year, they can see that the college baseball is fun. That's something that we try to preach quite a bit. But I think the fans and some other people that we don't typically reach can get to experience some of this stuff and become lifelong fans and continue to come back to the ballpark. Like I said, Pat Kelsey was there. Adam Duvall was there. It was good to see him at the ballpark. Mayor Greenberg, Senator McConnell. It was a who's who today at Jim Patterson Stadium, and the place was just electric. You could tell from the players. They were tweeting about it after the game. Talked about it in the post game. You could tell they love that atmosphere and they feed off of it. So, Terry, you got to experience it live in person today. Just kind of talk about how it was and what it was and how it affects the opposing team. Miami coming into a type of environment. Could you tell, or do you think it impacted the way they played at all?
Yeah, I do really feel like it had a pretty significant effect, especially in those first three innings, first three, four. It was, Forbes comes out right and is able to set the tone with a K right away. They get that little weak one up the box, and then he gets, there's another K in there, and he the crowd was able to get fired up because he was dialed in from the word go in terms of, he's throwing hard, right? That high fastball, they weren't able to get around on it all day. And that's the key to him being able to elevate that fastball like that with him. They're just, you can't get around on that high heat. And he was able to dial that in. The crowd, I did the first inning or so down back behind the plate, so I could snap some good photos and things like that. Get down there and get some crowd shots. Make sure I got some good stuff with the berm. You got those dudes out there partying. Like you said, there's a dog out there, and the dog wasn't just, there was a dog bed out there for it. I think I saw. Was there a dog bed out there?
Yeah, there was a dog bed.
That dog came to stay. It wasn't there just to hang out. It was there for like nap time even. No, Pat Kelsey. I saw him he was in my section for a minute at least. When I walked up the stairs at the end of the first inning, I went up that back stairway, and when I got up there and I realized, like, they're standing up here three deep up top, you knew, like, this is the real deal in here. I have not felt that type of energy in there since what, East Carolina? It's got to have been at least East Carolina in
Yeah.
19.
And 19, I would say that's probably the last time we've seen Jim Patterson Stadium like that.
And I felt like today was better. It was a bigger crowd than East Carolina, either of those 2 days. And that East Carolina team that came in back, that was a good day. They
It was,
pitched well, and Louisville
yeah.
just hit them all over the place for a couple days. And I think the key was being able to get off to a good start. Just put the crowd over the edge. I mean, when you get those back-to-back homers to just kind of set it off in there, and now it's a party for real. I mean, you're ready, everyone's ready for the party, right? But now the party's officially started. And when Jake Monroe hit his second bomb out up over the berm, what was it, 427? I
Yeah.
mean, when he hit it, the left fielder just stood there. He didn't move. I mean, yeah, just watched it just fly over his head. I mean, just like the Georgia Tech right fielder when Tank
Yeah.
Davis hit that
Yep.
bomb up into the trees. Just stand there and admire it, just like everybody else in the place was doing. Uh, that place came unhinged. And, for a freshman pitcher like Miami has on the mound, that's a lot. I mean, that kid. Look, I know they just went to Hattiesburg. That place is a party too, for sure. It's a little bit of a different atmosphere, even, right? Because they just like the way they are still able to like tailgate, but they're in the ballpark. But it's like, I mean, that is a wild scene down there. One I would like to experience in person. I'd really like to go down to Hattiesburg at some point. I'd like to see East Carolina as well. Those places just look like, some outfield stuff. Still kind of reminds me of like old Mississippi State, right? Where it's
Yeah.
just like, let's just get out here and let's just do whatever.
It's
Kind of
just a big
Ole
party.
Miss. Yeah, it's literally a party. Ole Miss at Swayze, where they let the students out there and they're throwing beer everywhere. I mean, that's kind of what Southern Miss reminds me of. And so I know he's been in some good atmospheres, and he threw the ball really well last weekend. But once it started to unravel on him, the crowd's loud, and I mean, he couldn't find it. And credit Louisville, because when they had chances, they took advantage. And well, I'm sure we're about to talk about it here in a minute, but when Miami had chances, and they had some early and often, to be honest, they were not able to take advantage, and that's the difference in the game.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's hop into the game and talk about the pitching because that, at the end of the day, that's what continues in this NCAA tournament to carry Louisville. I mean, that's kind of the reason we are where we are and why we continue to progress into this tournament. Patrick Forbes, I thought he was great tonight. He got into a little bit of trouble, like you talked about, but he continued to find that extra gear when he had to, right? And he even said in the post game he didn't have his best stuff tonight, but Patrick's good stuff is great enough. He doesn't have to have his best stuff every time he goes out there, and that's in a super regional against a really really good baseball team, right? He threw 5 2/3, gave up 4 hits. That one earned run he gave up, struck out 9. He did walk 4 and hit 2, and that was part of the trouble that he got in, right? But like I said, he continued to just dig down and find that extra gear. Top of the second, bases loaded, 1 out, and he strikes out 2 to end it. Top of the fourth, they had second and third with 2 outs. He gets a strikeout to end it. So it just seemed like every single time he got in a jam, he found a way to get himself out of it. And uh, not that there's 8 other guys on the field with him, but it seemed like when he needed a strikeout, he just went and got it. Right, like they were there to take, and he just went and took them. Like he, we always talk about on here, pitch to contact and let the defense work for you, and he did that often. But when he needed to, he just said, "I'm just going to throw the ball past you, and there's nothing that you can do about it." And we saw that many times tonight. And then Brennan Cutts came in and took over. He threw 1 1/3, and Justin West tossed the final 2 of shutout baseball to close it out. I know we talked about this last week, and I just want to add to the stats with today's game also. Now in the tournament, the pitching staff has thrown 36 innings. They've given up 16 hits, 5 earned runs in 36 innings, 55 strikeouts, and 14 walks. And those, I mean, those are just crazy numbers. To give up 5 runs in 36 innings and strike out 55 batters, there's a reason we're 4-0 in the postseason, and it's right there. It stops and ends with the pitching. And we've said this last time we were on, just talking about how the pitching staff and Coach Williams, they took some heat down the stretch, right? Like, but man, they have 100% completely answered the call and have set this team up to punch a ticket to Omaha. We got to win one more, but man, and I think the most exciting thing to me about it is they really didn't get taxed much today. The bullpen, you had Cuts throw 1 1/3, West throw 2, but neither one of them threw a ton of pitches. So we haven't seen Wyatt, Danielevich yet. We haven't seen Schweitzer yet. Like tomorrow, you still have your full arsenal behind who we assume to be Tucker Biven to throw tomorrow. So you were there and you got to talk to Patrick after the game. I mean, it's just at this point in time, it's just kind of ho hum Patrick Forbes. This is what he does when he goes out there. You just kind of expect him to be elite like he was, and man, all his tools were on full display tonight.
Yeah, I do want to piggyback off something that you said real quick before I get into some of the stuff about Patrick. Like, I want to say I said it last time. After I said it earlier in the week, leading in. I think I said it even last weekend. We did a live or two. Like, there are a lot of you out there that owe Roger Williams an apology, man. And I mean that sincerely. Like, y'all need to get on your X accounts because y'all are real quick to thumb those things out. If at any sign of a walk or a HBP, y'all jump up and down about new pitching coach this, new pitching staff that. I, I mean, what are you saying right now? Where's the apology? Where's all the tweets about how great Roger is? Where's the tweets about how great these kids are? I mean, that's the thing that bothers me the most about some of this stuff is just like people seem to be way more excited to jump on top of people when something isn't going right than they do to like congratulate them and celebrate with them when things go well. And don't get me wrong, like there was a ton of people there. They were all cheering today. There was nothing to be upset about today. So I'm sure no one had anything bad to say. But it's always been there. We've been preaching it the whole time. There have been several times this year that I've said hat tip to Roger for the job he's done, even in a series we lost.
Yeah.
And the simple fact of the matter is, for the most part, let's just be completely honest. Most everybody that's tweeting out that nonsense has zero or less than zero idea about anything that they're talking about. Number one, about this team, just period. And number two, probably baseball. So, I mean, the guy's one of the best in the business, full stop. End of story. That's it. He's one of the best in the business. And we've also got some kids on this pitching staff that are just flat out dudes. And you saw one of them today on the mound because when I was watching this game unfold, yeah, the strikeout numbers were there for sure. You mentioned it was 9 Ks, right?
I think
But
so. Yeah.
and he only gave up 4 hits, and one of them, in any other situation, I think Lucas Moore dives for that baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But that was the right play. I want to emphasize that was what he did was the right play, 100%. Don't dive for a ball that you're not 100% sure you're gonna get, and let it roll to the. If you don't get it, it goes to the wall, and the guy's standing on at least third base. So 100% the right play. He did the right thing. But I just mean like in maybe a regular season game or something like that. I think Lucas may have made a legitimate, may have tried to dive to catch that baseball because he had a good shot at it. I think he seemed like he got a pretty good jump, and it just he decided to play it safe there. Which, like I said, one more time, right move. And I wanted Dan to leave him in there. I thought, let him keep going, but he brings Cuts in. But here's the deal. It wasn't his best stuff. That was the exact thing that I was thinking was what he said. And, there were some guys in the post game were like, "Oh, you were really on." He wasn't. That's the thing. He wasn't really on today. The walks, four, you mentioned it, four walks, couple HBPs, sprinkle in a hit here and there, and he found himself in some jams. I mean, some kind of like, all right, what are we, sometimes with just one out, I think
Hmm.
bases loaded even, and so, but he's able, like, Patrick has that extra gear, and he has that fastball that others just don't have. I mean, it's just when you can dial it up 97, 98 when you need it, you can run it up, you can run it in. It's just it's unhittable. It's just what it is. You can't hit it. And they couldn't get around on it, and he was able to get those Ks when he needed them cuz he's got something that most guys in college baseball just don't have. And what my favorite thing about Pat the last couple weeks has been the competitiveness. Just give me the ball. I'm taking us where we want to go. I mean, he could look. We talked about it, joked about it a little bit last week, right? He gives up the 2-run shot to ETSU. People start thumbing their tweets out. Here we go again. Here it is. Yeah, here we go again. Here we go again. Back to the supers. That's exactly where he's taking you, right to the supers. Here we go again today. He gives up a couple walks, a little HBP here. Here we go again, right to the W column. The competitiveness this kid has shown the last couple weeks has been something, and I don't want to say that he didn't have it all year, but he's had an extra gear playoff baseball wise. And you have to have that from your studs this time of year if you want to win things and want to win games that matter. And that ability for him to just be like, hey, boys, get on my back. I'm taking us, let's go. I've got it out here. You guys do your part at the plate. I've got this part. He was phenomenal to be able to pitch like that when you have like your B minus type game. That's almost unfair. And like one of my favorite quotes from Coach Mack at the end, in the post game presser, he talked about, you know, the sky's the limit for him. It's only gonna be better. Listen, that kid's doing. He is so far from a finished product. That's why the upside's so high. That's why draft guys, ML, GMs, scouts are just salivating over this dude because he didn't even pitch in high school till like halfway through his high school career. He has so few innings in college, and look what he's already able to do. They give the kid the ball on night one against Chinese Taipei in the summer last year for Team USA because he's that guy. I mean, he has those intangibles, those things. Imagine what this kid is going to be like when he has four full pitchers in his arsenal. He could be, I mean, literally, the sky's the limit. If he stays healthy as he goes into pro ball, the sky's the limit. And so, couldn't have been happier for Pat, for his family. What a way to send it off at home, man. I mean, when he was coming out of the game, I mean, when Dan started walking out to the mound, I immediately got up and I mean, I was telling everybody in my section, y'all better get up and salute this kid cuz this type of pitcher doesn't come through your program that often. And I was happy to see a bunch of people get up, give that kid a standing O, man. He more than earned it today. Just couldn't be happier for him. Like I said, for his family. And I mean, yes, there was a lot of other pieces today, right? Obviously, the offensive side of the ball was great, very offensive as usual. But I mean, they needed him today, and he shoved it, and it was awesome.
Yeah, he was electric from the word go, like you said, and uh, just having that opportunity to throw in front of your home fans, one more time, and not just him, but the players having the opportunity to play in front of the big crowds that we were able to see. You just love it for the guys that aren't gonna be able to come back and experience this again if Louisville's able to kind of replicate the success that we've seen this year, because these guys haven't played postseason baseball at Jim Patterson Stadium like this, or some haven't played postseason baseball period. And they get to experience it like this in front of their home fans. It's just special for those guys. And to be able to come out and shove like the way he did. And like you said, he's a guy that Patrick Forbes doesn't come through your program very often. He's a guy that potentially could be a first round draft pick, kind of depend on where that falls. Louisville is we're spoiled, right? Like we've seen that time and time again since Dan McDonald's been here in the last 18 years, but that's not the norm everywhere. And to see a guy like this, we talk about that, and we talk about Jamie Arnold and honestly Daniel Cuvée on the other team, and we talk about some of these other players coming in here that are just special, elite, next level type guys. It's fun as a fan to see them, even though they're on the other team, because you get so close to college baseball, and you get to see them right here in our backyard. It's fun. But I think sometimes we take it for granted when we have those type of players on our roster, and because we get to see them for 3 years. So I think it's just awesome for Patrick and his family, like you said, to be able to experience that here at Jim Patterson Stadium when Jim Patterson Stadium is at its best, like they saw tonight.
You mentioned Cuvée, and one of the things I thought there were a couple times where you know, if Patrick, we're talking about the competitiveness again, you know, had they wanted to, he could have worked around him gingerly a little bit if he wanted. Man, he went right at him. I loved that, and I mean, just to be able to challenge him, like, Cuvée, he didn't have it for him, man. I mean, and it was that was a one-sided affair in that kind of heavyweight battle. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there was a TKO from Mr. Forbes today, and it was special to watch. Like I said, to be able to just do it when you aren't at your best, just I think that's the thing that really stood out to me was to still be able to have that kind of performance. Um, that's just it was special. It was special today for sure.
No, I was going to talk about that at bat specifically when Cuvée comes up. You've got runners on second and third. First base is open, and you've got Cuvée up to bat. I think there were two outs, if I'm
There
not
were two
mistaken.
outs.
Okay,
Yep.
there's two outs, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, are they going to put him on? Are you just going to pitch around it? Throw a four pitch unintentional walk, or how are they going to approach this situation here? Because if he sends the ball up into the berm, like obviously we've got a completely different game. It looks a lot different than it does right now. But man, they they didn't back down one bit. He strikes out Cuvée, and all the momentum stayed with Louisville in our dugout. And that's just how Patrick was tonight. Like you said, the competitiveness. He didn't back down. You've got one of the best hitters in the country with a base open right in front of him with two outs, and go get him. Like we're not going to pitch around this dude. And so that was really good to see. I do want to mention again, we're live. So if you've got anything, drop it in the comments. We've got some stuff rolling in here. Having Matt Klein back has helped the pitchers build a lot of confidence. And Terry, you and I have talked about this a lot, and Phipps dropped that in. That couldn't be any more true. I mean, just 100%. I think the pitching staff has approached the way they are able to attack batters in a completely different way. And like you said, absolutely nothing against the other catchers on the roster. They were all phenomenal this year. Every single one of them. They all brought different things to the table, and if they didn't step in when they did and perform the way they did, we may not be talking right now, right? If you don't have the catcher step in and win the baseball games that we did, we may not be talking about postseason baseball in Louisville. But you can tell since we've gotten here back to the postseason, it's a completely different look from the pitching staff. So Terry, I know that's something you've talked about quite a bit. If you want to add anything there, because I think that's a very, very good point that Phipps brought up in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about it just the other night. I mean, just the confidence that these guys on the mound have, knowing, like, let's be honest, we struggled at times this year, keeping the ball in front of us. Um, Sometimes even catching the baseball. And here's the thing: I don't mean that as any kind of knock in any way, because the thing is, those kids were being asked to do things that they just weren't ready for. It's a completely different. I, I, I'll frame it this way: there's a reason that in the MLB draft you don't see very many catchers taken out of high school, because they're not ready to catch velo like that. They're not ready for spin like that. You need seasoning. And that's the thing, is that we're catching three guys behind Matt this year that didn't have any. And so to expect them to go out and excel at Matt Klein's level, which, Matt's going to be, I mean, he's probably climbing draft boards right now, to be completely honest, the way he continues to hit the baseball. And obviously his work behind the plate speaks for itself. But I mean, you got a left-handed hitting catcher that can use the whole field. Matt's the best backside hitter on our team by far. I mean, Matt uses left field better than anybody else we have. It's amazing watching him hit. He did it again today, and so to ask some of these kids to be able to step in and fill those shoes behind the plate, that just it just wasn't going to happen, to be honest. They did an admirable job. I mean, there were some nights where, we talked about how good Mowry was that Friday night against Georgia Tech. Kid was sensational. Picked up a couple hits, couple big hits actually. There's a couple times. I mean, we've seen George Baker show his arm off. I mean, that kid, that thing is literally, it's like a rocket launcher. And Taggart Tyson, kid is so offensive at the plate, can really jump on a baseball. I love watching him swing. Um, there's just, each of them have things to work on, which you would expect from kids at that stage of their progression through college baseball. So, look, Matt Klein was on pace to be an All ACC type performer. Um, he goes down. The guys, like you said, did a great job of getting us to this point. But it 100% fully agree with whoever it is that said that in the comments. Like I said, we talked about it. We've talked about multiple times over the last week. Just the confidence the pitchers have in him. I can spin it in the dirt. He's got it. Look, even, let's be honest though, there were a couple that got by today. How about those bounces, huh? A little home bounce. The one Matt took his glove off, he grabbed it with his bare hands. He was coming in to tag the guy with his bare hands. So he was ready to, Matt that was going to be like a football kind of play. He was coming in with no glove, but protect those fingers. But he's a special talent behind the plate. And, another one in a long line of special talents that we've had here at Louisville. And they seem to be able to develop them as time goes. And so who's the next one going to be? I don't know. Is it one of those three? Could be. Is it somebody else? Could be them too. But I mean, Matt's ability to excel on both sides, defensively and offensively, is what sets him apart. And it was all on full display today, behind the plate. And again, just when you come into college, you've not caught anybody that throws 98. So you're not ready for that type of. And look, when you throw 98, you're going to be a little wild sometimes because it's 98 and the release point is not, again, Pat's still kind of new to pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got so few innings on his arm. We just talked about that a minute ago. So, it's not always right where you want it. You got to go get it sometimes. And so I thought Matt did a great job today. Obviously, the bat, we've seen it a million times. He did it again today. The bat plays. We all know that. Matt's going to progress his way through a system at some point pretty rapidly, I would think. And so, no, like I said, whoever said that, spot on, man. Matt Klein is a difference maker. And look, we're not sitting where we are right now, 1-0 in a super, without Matt Klein coming back over the last week and a half. That's just period.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think the the bat obviously has helped. The two home runs last week, and he's contributed offensively since he's been back. But just his presence behind the plate. Even if he wasn't able to hit, his presence behind the plate has been enough to, I think, propel this team into 1-0 in a super regional game. So, uh, like you said, he is going to climb the ladder for some organization professionally. Like he's a professional player. You can tell that's his approach is professional. We've talked about it here. He received the baseball very well. He uses all fields. He's not a one dimensional hitter. Matt is a guy that he's going to be the next addition to Catcher U, which we've just continued to kind of become accustomed to here in Louisville. So let's look at some of the other comments. Evan is talking about starters tomorrow. We'll kind of dig into that here in just a few minutes. Brandon asked if I was going to the game tomorrow. I do have a family obligation. My two lovely nieces are in a dance recital tomorrow, and I love both of them dearly. They come to all of my son's Miracle League baseball games, so I signed up to go to that a couple months ago, and I'm not going to miss that for them. So I will be at their dance recital tomorrow, and I will, if there's a Sunday game, I've got tickets already. So if needed, I will be there on Sunday. As much as I would love to be there on Sunday, I hope you all just bring the victory home tomorrow, and I'll catch a game next year. So selfishly, I'd like to go, but on Sunday. But I don't want to do that to the rest of Card Nation. So just pick up that W tomorrow, and I'll catch up with y'all next year.
I did run into Brandon today at the
Yeah,
ballpark. He was in line. Looked like he was needing some super regional gear or something. So I got to
nice.
chat with him for a few minutes. So I think he was trying. I don't know if his wife ever got back to him of what she wanted, what shirt she wanted, but he was in line. But I don't. He might just got two things for himself and none for his wife. I think. I don't know.
Brandon, hope you got something for your wife. If not, you need to be there tomorrow and pick something up for her. So we got to look out for those wives. I did the same thing today. Adidas Ultra Boosts were on sale. I don't, if they're probably not out there anymore, but they were on sale, 180 down to $63 today. And you don't see Ultra Boosts on sale often. And so I'd add my paired to my cart that I wanted, red and black and white, of course. And I'm texting my wife. I'm like, hey, do you want any of these? And she's at work. And I'm like, if she doesn't respond, she's either getting what I pick out for or she's not getting anything at all. But she responded. So we got her a pair too. So we got to look out for those wives. And you see something, you got to buy it for them. So, but keep the comments and stuff coming. Oh, he did get a shirt for her. So Brandon with the brownie points. So he's not gonna sleep in the doghouse tonight.
Good
So
for him. Brandon gets to actually sleep in his bed tonight. Good for him.
so let's talk about the offense, because as much as the pitching staff and a defense who didn't have any errors played a pretty sound game today too. We didn't talk much about defense, but they played a pretty sound game. The offense scored 8 runs, so let's chat about them a little bit too. Obviously got the scoring started with back-to-back home runs from Pike and Monroe in the second inning. And I want to touch on something you talked about earlier about the giving the crowd something to cheer about. I've been to many Louisville basketball, football, baseball games over the year where, the place can be packed, right? But the team just doesn't give the crowd anything to talk about. And that's not just Louisville. I mean, that's anywhere you go, right? If there's nothing that the home team is doing, the crowd just doesn't have anything to cheer for. But when you get the scoring started with back-to-back home runs in the second inning, that really set the tone for the crowd, and I think the game for the full 9 innings. So Louisville took a 2-0 lead in the second with the back-to-back home runs from Pike and Monroe. Pike went opposite field with his, and Monroe just hit an absolute bomb. I think it was right around 4:30. Is that right? I think it was
I'm
maybe
not sure
4.
what the first one was.
Yeah.
The second one was 427. I think.
Okay.
I don't have the first one right offhand.
I saw like 4:30 and 4:25, so they were both kind of right around the same distance. Either way, he he got into both of them, and I was glad to see that from Jake, because offensively he had 3 hits I think down in Nashville, but defensively we talked about it, had a little shaky game against the Commodores, so good to see him bounce back and just get that confidence back and show some swagger as we head into the second game of the Super Regional. So Louisville's up 2-0. Miami responds with a sack fly in the third to cut the lead in half. But that was it for the Hurricanes. After that, it was really all Louisville. The Cards loaded the bases in the third. Pike hits that ground ball right back to the pitcher, and I was like, "Oh no!" And the pitcher throws the ball to the backstop. And Zion, like I said, the bases were loaded. Zion's on second, and man, he read it perfectly, and he hit third base, and there was nothing stopping him. When he first rounded the base, I was like, "Oh gosh, what's he doing? What's it?" And he was safe. But heck of a play, heck of a read by Zion. That's all on the player at that point in time. Like there's no listening to your coach. It's just instinct. You see it, you read it, and you go. And that's what Zion did to put another run on the board. And then the next pitch after that, Jake hit. I would say into the berm, but I think it was over the berm to give Louisville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he absolutely hit a piss missile to give Louisville a 7-1 lead at that point in time. And then Monroe had a sack fly later in the game, which was the final run for Louisville, which was I think in the fourth inning, I believe. And from that point forward, from the fifth to the ninth, there were no runs scored, which is good for us because we had obviously built a big lead at that point in time. Brandon just put in there that Siskar only allowed 3 home runs all season before today. Pretty impressive stat. And Louisville came out and did what they did. He also gave up 6 earned runs today, which was a season high for him too. So I mean, this is like you talked about earlier. Here's a freshman they put out there in the mound, but has had a ton of success. I mean, Artiega wasn't going to put some freshman out there on the mound that wasn't ready for this moment. Like you said, he threw down Southern Miss and got to experience that. I don't think that's the same as Louisville, but they're not going to put somebody out there that they don't think is ready for this type of environment. And the success that he's seen all year long, he's been dominant. And Louisville really was on him from the get-go. So heck of a game offensively for the Cards, and they obviously did plenty enough to get the W. With what the pitching staff did, they 2 runs would have been enough, but they went out and did their thing and put up 8. So taking it in at the ballpark, kind of walk me through what you got to see from your perspective.
Yeah, one of the things that we have talked about on here a lot this year is just the way that the lineup has been able to just stretch out in terms of just like
Yep.
where's where are the outs when you look, when you're just looking at the lineup. I mean, I know that I don't think Lucas Moore had a hit today. He squared up. I mean, he barreled 3
Mm-hmm.
baseballs. I mean, barreled them. And that's just baseball. I mean, sometimes they find, he could hit a bloop tomorrow and get a single. I mean, I don't care how well he could have 3 hits tomorrow. None of them might be as good of in terms of coming off the bat as what he did today. So I mean, it's not an easy out. I mean, he hammered the baseball. So I say that to say even even the outs today were tough for Miami because we were still squaring them. I mean, I love Matt in the 2 hole. It's a great move from because he's such a professional hitter to all fields. He's the perfect 2 hole hitter. Uh, Perfect. I love it. I could not love that move more from Coach Mack since Matt is back. 2 hole for Matt rest of the year. I'm pretty sure he's written in pen for the rest of the year. There's no pencil. There's no eraser. Matt is the 2 hole guy. And the thing is, you talked about Jake and just, we talked about it last week. The one inning he had, especially a little tough, in the field last weekend against Vanderbilt. He comes right back up to the plate that next half inning and hits a double in the left
Mm-hmm.
center field gap. I
Yep.
love that about Jake. He just is able to just flush that out of there and let's get on to the next thing. Look, we had Jake on here earlier in the year. You'll never talk to a better dude.
Mm-mm.
Jake Monroe is like the type of guy you'd like want your daughter to date kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like he's that kind of guy. Like just the best dude, great fan. And again, I feel like I could say that about every single kid on this team. Like that's what makes rooting for these guys so easy. That's what makes, investing in this team so easy, right? Is because it's a team full of just like good dudes that also are great at baseball.
Hmm.
And so couldn't be happier for him. Look, I loved watching Jake off that second bomb. He knew it right when that ball made contact with his bat. I mean, that thing was murdered. So like, just I'm just so happy for him, man, because I know that we've talked about it multiple times this year. Like, I've been able to talk with him after games and just, I came here for these big moments. I came here for these big games. He was a walk-off specialist there early in the year. And, like, this kid lives for it. You watch him. I told you just a couple weeks ago that I'd had a conversation with Coach Schneider, and he talked about the professional approach Jake takes to batting practice. Like, he goes through BP before games, and I know like they really only open the gates an hour before, and so like not everybody's really able to get in and see BP all the time. But like, if you get a chance to watch Jake Monroe take batting practice, it is like watching a Major League Baseball player take batting practice. He's not up there hacking, trying to hit the ball over the fence. He's up there working on things. He's hitting the ball to all fields. And you see it in games that the work is paying off. I, I could not be happier for him just as a dude. This is why he came here, and to get to live it out, just so awesome for him. And like, I mean, it was up and down the lineup. I mean, Kamayu had a hit. Davis had that one up the middle for sure, and I'm sure I'm missing some. Obviously we had the home runs. Eddie has that rocket into left center field in that gap out there. Right, it was hilarious because the kids, I don't know, some kids had a ball go over the fence, and it was like right there in that left center field gap, and they had to stop the game for a minute so that they could get the ball back over the fence. And then Eddie hit a ball almost exactly where that ball was. That just kind of made me laugh. I just the offense was on full display today, and we didn't have to steal. I mean, didn't have to, didn't need to, and look, the way this team has pitched for the last, 4 games, if you pitch like that, you're going to have a chance to win any and every game. When you hit like they did today, especially in that first half of the game, I mean, that's how they've played ball most of the year, right? I mean, this team has been a team that can easily put an 8 spot up uh, in a baseball game. And so, I mean, who's to say how far this could go if you keep this run going? I mean, man, confidence is that can take you a long ways, and we're seeing it continue to build right now with this ball club.
Yeah, it's a good point you bring up with the stolen bases. I thought about that shortly. I think we were in the seventh or eighth inning. I was like, we haven't stolen a base, and we ended the game without a stolen base. And I don't know. I'd have to go back and look through. I don't know how many, if any, games did we have this year where we did not record a single stolen base. And I don't know the answer to that. But I'd like to go look that up and see if I can find some information on it. But I think that's a really good point. We did what we did offensively, and we did it kind of in a different way than what we've what we've been doing, which I think is a positive sign. It shows that we're not just a one trick pony that we have to do this or have to play this way or have to play that way to win a baseball game. So I think that was encouraging that we were able to kind of move the baseball in different ways and still have success.
I did want to say, you had talked about the play at home, with the chopper
Mm,
back to the mound and the kind of the
yeah.
overthrow. That the first thing I thought of when as that play kind of unfolded was like, man, we deserved a play like that. Honestly, just we'd have a couple
Yes.
different times where like we had a guy score, from second base on just kind of like a
Hmm.
fluke type thing, and I just felt like, again, man, I've said it on here, we've talked about it a million times. The baseball gods giveth and they taketh, and like those things tend to even themselves out as the season goes, kind of breaks that go for you or against you. And that's like the first thing I thought of was like, oh, we deserved one of those. Like, thank you to the baseball gods. And a great, like you said, a great read by Zion, because
Yeah.
I mean, he was seeing it the whole way, and I love the aggression in that spot, and it really paid off. That kid can really. Do you have 12 stolen bases freshman year, and he has over 30 this year?
Yeah, he's got a, yeah, I think, yeah, he didn't have near as many last year.
That kid's showing off some serious tools.
Yeah, no, and one thing we talked about defense a little bit and didn't touch on it a ton, but the play that Kamayu made in the hole was just spectacular. Like when the ball was hit, I was just like, "That's a base hit." Like, and then just a fabulous play by him deep in the hole to throw the runner out. And you know, I thought we just played a very sound defense game. We didn't have to do a ton extra, but that play specifically really stood out to me. One thing you mentioned earlier were the two pass balls or wild pitches that kind of bounced right back to Matt, and both times with runners on third base. And you typically don't see that a ton at Jim Patterson Stadium. You know, some ballparks you do. Like Vandy, it's so short back there. It's tough to get a read or a good break on a ball because there's not a whole lot of room for air back there. But some of it I think is Patrick just throws the ball so hard that it's gonna ricochet back quite a bit. And I think we saw that a couple times. Which when that happened, my first thought on that was we deserve that because, like you said, we've had a couple of those that didn't go our way. You know, the pass ball or wild pitch down at Vandy that the kid from Vanderbilt scored from second base on. So it was time for something like that to go our way. So I feel like we saw a couple of those today that finally were in our favor, and we definitely needed those. So,
Yeah, I just you know the it is really really spacious behind our home plate.
mhm,
Just in terms of some other ballparks, you mentioned Vandy. I mean, there are some other ones like I know we didn't play there this year, but like Western Kentucky is very short behind home
yes,
plate. I mean, it's just sometimes some places just don't have a lot of room when they're building their ballpark. I mean, if you've been to Vandy, I mean, it's tiny in there. So, you know, every ballpark, that's kind of what makes baseball cool, right? All the dimensions are different in everybody's ballpark. And so, yeah, I mean, you don't get a lot of those real great hops back there. And even if it
mm-mm,
kind of kicks back to you, it's still a big space, but got some good home field hops back there. Matt was, or Pat, both maybe
yeah.
even Coach McDonald, everyone living right this week. And I think we got the good hop right, the home field advantage, I guess if you want to put it that way.
And we, like you said, we definitely deserved it, and I feel like we earned it after some of the bad breaks, that we've had recently. So, before we kind of put a bow on tonight and fast forward to tomorrow morning, I do want to talk about that rain delay that happened a little bit. That just seemed like an absolute cluster that I don't think anybody knew really what was going on. So, obviously, if you were kind of tuned into the game or at the game, it really was just an absolute mess. So there's some lightning in the area, which is 30-minute delay. So after the players kind of go back for the delay, they come back out. The way I understand it, they start warming up and then kind of get sent back down again. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, 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 we're playing and we're playing in like 10 minutes, so get ready now. Is that kind of how it happened there at the ballpark?
That is basically what was going on. I mean, they were everyone had warmed up, and I mean, I think had been told that it was going to be a go, and then the site rep, the umpires, and I think the weather. I don't know what else to call him besides the weather guy. The guy who was kind of in charge of reading. He's got the
Mark
radar. He's
Weinberg.
got he's got the walkie-talkie clipped up on his collar and everything. He tells the coaches, we're not, and then the coaches did not look very excited about that being said to them. So then we're stopped, but then like all of a sudden it's announced, hey, we're going in. I'm pretty sure it was like 5 minutes. Um, and I think it even started earlier than it was like. I think it even started before, like a minute or two before it was even announced they were going to start. And so, like, I mean, this is what I thought. I thought that number one, the weather had started, and it was definitely going to get worse for
Yeah.
sure. It was kind of, it was when you're looking at the radar, there's some dark green, there's some yellow, there's even some red going south. Like, let's get this thing finished because you don't want to have to come back and play 4 outs before you start a brand new game tomorrow. Let's get this thing finished and let's go. And so I think that's kind of, to be honest, I think both teams felt that way. I don't even think
Yeah.
Miami wanted to, would have wanted to keep it that way. And so I think there was some initial frustration from both coaches for sure, just about like the way things were being handled. Like, are we doing it? Is TV telling us what to do? Like, what are we doing here? And so, I mean, fortunately, they got it going and they got it done quickly. And let's just move on. Like, basically, like, I mean, I think even Miami was like, hey, let's just get up there. Let's take some quick. I think it was an 8 pitch inning. I'm pretty positive from West, and so let's just get up there. Let's just kind of get these quick at bats done, and let's move on to the next game. Basically, it's kind of that's at least what it looked like.
And I think a big part of it, from what I read, was that TV became an issue because the following game, which was Florida State and Oregon State, had already started, and it was on the same channel that we were previously on. So then they had to bump us, and the game goes to ESPN Plus for the finish for the final 4 outs. So I know there's a lot of moving parts there, but it seemed like it was just an absolute mess. But nonetheless, we got the game in, and I think that is all that matters. Like you said, Miami's down 8-1. You've got a monsoon coming. They're just ready to go home. They want to go, go get a meal, go get some sleep, so they can get back at this thing tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. They don't want to worry about these next 3 outs. Like they can tell, this thing's over with at this point in time.
I
So
felt a little bad for the players, just in terms of the crowd had, they cleared everyone out. So like
yeah,
initially when it happened, they tell everyone, all right, it's delayed, it's 30 minutes, whatever. So everyone's just hanging out kind of underneath. And I think I've said on here before, I may have press box credential, but I'm not a press box guy. I mean, that is not my vibe. So, I mean, they're clearing everyone out of there. And so, I mean, like, even parents, I mean, they got to go. And then, like, all of a sudden they're announcing, hey, we're going to play again. And then, I don't know, man. I just kind of felt like it would have been fun for them to get to celebrate with a packed house, right? That you win the game, but I mean, sometimes you can't control everything in that way. So that part of it was unfortunate, but plenty of other time to celebrate the rest of this weekend if they can finish the job off.
yeah, no, I had the exact same thought. You see the final outs, and there's just nobody there at that point in time, right? Like everybody, they kick everybody out, and at that point in time, nobody's gonna hang around. Like you're told to leave. You don't know what's coming. Like you don't want to get stuck there. So everybody kind of left, but nonetheless, Cards get the big 8-1 victory. So, Terry, any final thoughts before we kind of start talking about tomorrow a little bit on the game tonight? I know you got to sit in the press conference. Anything that was groundbreaking that was said, or anything you want to touch on from anything you heard from the players or coaches after the game, or you want to just jump into tomorrow?
I think I did think it was funny. Somebody asked, Coach McDonald, what will you say, tomorrow morning? What's the speech look like? Will you tell the boys, 9 innings from Omaha, And he said, Coach McDonald said he will not use that word. He wouldn't. He didn't even say it. He said he will not use the word, and he really has preached this week, this postseason, to be fair to him, including Pittsburgh. Um, you know, it's about the journey. It's not like and I was fortunate enough to get to go to practice a couple times this week, and the message, especially Tuesday, was look, Omaha's awesome. And it is great. I was fortunate enough to get to go in 19. It was a blast. It was so fun. And like I was able to go with my dad, and we were able to watch. I think I've said it before. We were able to watch Louisville and Michigan. It's so fun, right? Like it's so great, and like they both made runs, so it's the best. But the this weekend is the weekend, and Coach Mack alluded to it even yesterday, and he said, "Look, this is the best weekend of the college baseball season." He said he believed it. I think I said that earlier in the week
Mm-hmm.
as well. I think this is my favorite weekend. And because the atmospheres at home are so great, and so I did find that it was funny that coach is not going to use he's not going to use the O word, so he wants to just let that you know that part takes care of itself. Let's just continue to go do what we do. Continue to do the little things right. What were they talking about all last week? The 17 inches of the plate, right? That's what the pitching staff was focused on.
Yep.
The 17 inches of the plate, and they did a pretty good job of it again today. And as far as the hitters in the box, man, let's be aggressive. Let's take our chances. But I did think it was pretty funny that Coach Mack, he's hey, I'm gonna stay away from that. They know, right? He doesn't have to tell them. I mean, they're not, no one's coming to the ballpark tomorrow not knowing that they're a win away from Omaha. So, just they don't need to press. Just be themselves.
Yeah, I think tomorrow's the opportunity that you can Louisville in this sense can dogpile on their home field, right? There's 8 teams that can do that this weekend. That's it. There's only 8 teams in college baseball this weekend that get the opportunity to dogpile on their home field. The other 8 can do it on the road, and that's sweet too, right? Like going into we've talked about that going into another team's field in front of their fans and dogpiling, that's exciting. But when you can do it in front of 6,000 of your fans and all your family members and friends and everything, that I think that means a little bit more. So excited to see what that looks like for Louisville tomorrow. I think one of the slogans they talk about from time to time is "So what? Now what?" You've heard the players talk about that a little bit, and Coach McDonald talks about it a little bit. And at this point in time, like, so what? Like, you know, the rest of the season's behind us, but now what? What are we going to do tomorrow? Who are we going to be tomorrow at 11 a.m.? And I'm just ecstatic to see what Louisville brings tomorrow morning at 11. So let's talk about what that kind of looks like. Obviously, 11 o'clock start, not ideal from a fan's perspective, but we've got 8 games we've got to get on television. So here we are. We drew the short straw. And you don't have one of the remaining national seeds left in this regional, so that it's kind of part of it. You kind of get that short straw, but here we are. Opportunity to play for Omaha tomorrow morning. I think I haven't pulled up the schedule, but I would imagine there's probably no games that are going to be as early. The other early game is at noon, so Louisville has the chance to be the first team to punch their ticket tomorrow morning. It sounds like Tucker Biven will get the ball. I don't think. I think Coach Mack kind of flirted around it and said he needed to talk to Coach Williams, but Tucker Biven's going to get the ball tomorrow, and like we said, we've got a lot of hands on deck tomorrow. It's going to be a game where you've got Wyatt available. Like I said, you've got Schweitzer available tomorrow. It's going to be a game that all hands are going to be on deck. So I think we've set ourselves up pretty nicely as far as pitching. From Miami, you're going to see Griffin Hugas, who's the guy we talked about last week when we previewed the regional or the super regional. Artiega, I think, already announced that he's going to be the starter tomorrow. He's 6-7, but don't let that record kind of fool you. He's got a 3.90 ERA. He's thrown 90 pitches this year, or I'm sorry, 90 innings this year. So he leads the team in innings pitched. So he's kind of a workhorse. He's a guy that we can't let him go deep into games. If I'm not mistaken, he threw a complete game against Columbia last weekend. Louisville's not Columbia, I understand that, but it was in the 1-0 game after Columbia had beat Southern Miss. So Miami burned a couple of their relievers today that I was kind of surprised that they did. Honestly, they've got 2 of their guys that were at the top of their statistically in games pitched this year. In appearances in an 8-1 loss. I was kind of shocked at the way he approached those 2 middle reliever guys. They didn't throw a ton of pitches, so they'll be able to come back this weekend if they're needed. But I think Louisville really sets themselves up really well tomorrow morning, and I feel really good about having Tucker on the mound. Obviously, you were there. You've been around and know Tucker very well. Kind of what are your thoughts going into tomorrow morning?
Yeah, so I'll touch on Miami real quick just before I get to Tucker and stuff. I mean, you know, he did throw, he did throw a complete game. I believe it was Saturday, right in the 1-0
Hmm.
game. And
It was
so
Saturday.
that's, I think it was 120 pitches. And so
Hmm.
that's why they held him
Hmm.
out of today. Just let him have the full week like normal, and let's go back to him. I mean, that's a lot of pitches for a college kid. And so, but make no mistake about it, he's their guy. I
Yep.
mean, don't the record, any of that stuff. This is their dude, and
Yep.
so, and it's not to. That's no slight to AJ or any. That's none of that stuff. I mean, they. But this is their guy. This is the guy they want with the ball. This is the guy they want with the ball in a big spot where you gotta have it. They've got their guy on the mound, so I think they feel pretty confident. Uh, as confident as they're gonna feel in a 1-0 hole, hey, let's throw our best pitcher out there and let's see what happens. And so I think they feel pretty good about it. As far as them using their bullpen, Coach Arteaga did say in the post game, he did make a very he made sure to make the point. Look, if we're able to come back this weekend, if it is to happen, he said, make no mistake about it. It is because our bullpen arms were good today, the back half of the game. We were able to not have to run through 6, 7 arms, and we were able to just keep it to those guys. They did a good enough job to get us to the finish line and not just have to roll through guy after guy after guy. And so he said, those guys in the bullpen, like you said, maybe there were some guys that, some guys that had pitched some more innings, throughout the year. So maybe do you want to use them? Do you not? But they didn't really throw off in that way. That wasn't really the way they approached it. And so, but he made sure to mention if a comeback is to happen, it's because those guys allowed us to save some bullpen arms for the rest of the weekend. So I thought that was an interesting point that he made. That wasn't necessarily the way I was thinking about it, but that was the way that he thought of it. And so I just thought that was kind of an interesting way for him to look at it. Do you, now knowing that he said that, do you like, does that change the way you think about it any or not really?
Sorry about that. No, it doesn't really change the way I think about it much. I see where he's coming from with that though, but he's in a situation tomorrow where he's going to throw anybody and everybody. If he's got to burn his game 3 starter, whatever he's got to do in the bullpen tomorrow, he's going to do it if that's what he thinks is best for his team to win the game. Right? Louisville is in a little bit different situation because they obviously Louisville wants to win the baseball game tomorrow. Make no mistake about it, right? But Miami has to win the baseball game tomorrow, so they have to approach this game a little bit differently than we do. He's going to throw whoever he's got. Like you said, if he's got to burn his game 3 starter to get him to the end of the game and figure out Sunday, that's what he'll do. Where I think we're going to be able to approach it a little bit differently, and we're in the driver's seat. That's benefit to us, but I don't think that really changes my outlook on how I think the weekend will go. I mean, I feel pretty confident about uh, Louisville. We talked about that last week when we talked about the Super Regional. We were preparing for it. I felt good about our approach at the plate. Obviously, our pitching staff right now is throwing better than they've thrown all season long. This 4 game stretch has been absolutely unbelievable. And when you've got Tucker starting tomorrow, plus the arms that you've got behind him, we didn't get taxed much today. I feel really good about what tomorrow looks like. And I think even if we go to Sunday, I, I, I still feel very confident about how we would have an approach to the bullpen at that point in time because the arms that you threw today, they could potentially come back on Sunday if they have to for an inning here, an inning there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as tomorrow goes, and you talked about, yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be Biven. I mean, yeah, you're right. He was, oh, maybe, oh, Coach Williams, he'll take a look. I mean, he doesn't just want to say it, right? But I mean, it's Tucker tomorrow. It's give Tucker the ball, and again, like much the same way I feel about Forbes, right? In terms of that last home start, right? I'm so excited. We had talked about it a little bit, like earlier in the week, like how excited I was for Matt Klein to get to play at home again, to get that at bat again. let's hear the stroke again. Let's get 5,000 clapping in there. You know what I mean? Like, how fun. I can't even imagine how fun that was for his family today to just get to experience. And he played great too. So, like, that's awesome. And I feel the same way about Tucker. Again, his dad played at Louisville. Like, he's grown up loving Louisville baseball. Like, he's wanted to be a Card his whole life. So, like, for him to get the ball in a closeout game at Jim Patterson Stadium on Saturday morning on ESPN, what's better than that? So let's give the Bulldog the ball and get out the way. Like, let's just jump on that dude's back tomorrow and let's let him carry it. I think he's going to be locked in. He's been really, really good since he's moved to this role, right? Like, kind of out of that bullpen role as we were just, honestly, I feel like at the beginning, we were just looking for a way to get him some more innings. And let's figure out, can we maybe let him be almost an opener? Let's get 2 to 3 innings out of him and use him in that way. And because I mean, you're 2/3 of the way through the season and he's got 15 innings or whatever. Like, it's just, you got to use your pieces more than that. And so I love the way that Coach Mack and Coach Williams were just always searching for ways to, utilize the pieces they have. And so, you talked about all hands on deck tomorrow. I think there's only two dudes unavailable tomorrow, and I think it's Forbes and West, and that's it. Everybody else is free. I think you'd rather not use cuts if you didn't have to,
Yep.
but everyone else, and I include Ethan Everly, just for the record. Ethan Everly is 100% available tomorrow. So Coach Mack has made that point throughout the week. He is not afraid to run somebody else out there on Sunday if it got to that point. Like, if he sees if he and Rogers see a spot for Ethan tomorrow, they're not going to be afraid to use him because they're worried about Sunday. That's all I'm saying. And
Yeah.
so, just, I'm not saying that situation is going to play out, but if it does play out, no one be shocked because that has been talked about. It's been thought about by them already. They will not hesitate to run Ethan back out there tomorrow or run him out there tomorrow. Not necessarily worried about the next day. So, look, do we? We're not gonna throw 7, 8 guys out there. It's not a bullpen day or anything like that. But I mean,
Right.
the dudes are available. I mean, there's plenty of fresh arms. I mean, I know, at practice on Tuesday, I think and on Tuesday when I first got to practice, anyone who did not throw on the weekend was getting a live inning. So everyone got a live inning with hitters on Tuesday. I think they were maxing them at somewhere between 20 and 30 pitches for all those extra bullpen guys. So everyone has thrown this week to keep themselves ready. Some of those guys looked pretty sharp still on Tuesday, seeing some live hitters. So, um, I really look forward to tomorrow. You know the guys you're gonna see though out of the back end. I mean,
Yep.
again, whether you see Eberly or not, that part will remain to be seen. But obviously, you're gonna see Tuck. You can count, I would think, on the fact that if they're ahead. I would say you can probably count on Wyatt. You can count on Schweitzer at some point. I mean, you're gonna throw those, those guys that you've seen over the last week or two, kind of become the staple points of what he's gone to in some of these, in some of these contests. So, but like I said, I do want to just reiterate: do not be surprised if you see Ethan tomorrow if he sees a spot for him.
Yeah. No, and I think that's just another arm that we've got in our arsenal that we can showcase if we think we can win the game, and winning the game is through Ethan Eberly, like you said, there's no reason to shy away from that plan, right? If feed the studs. If you want to go win the baseball game and you've got the chance to do it, then do it. One thing I want to touch on a little bit with Tucker getting the ball, you mentioned it a little bit, just to kind of reiterate, kind of a local-ish kid from right across the river, New Albany. His brother and his dad, his whole family, they're obviously big, Louisville fans. Cooper tweeted out his brother after Tucker through his last game at Jim Patterson Stadium, I guess in the Wake Forest series. He said, if that was his last home outing, he went out on a good note. And it's just, you talk about, family and, being able to pitch in front of your friends and the kids you grew up with. And, he's got that opportunity to do it again with the Omaha berth online, which is just a super, super cool moment, and excited for Tucker and his family and just all the Bivens just to be able to experience that tomorrow at Jim Patterson Stadium.
You know, it's a great family. I've had the pleasure to be around obviously a lot of these families over the last several years, and even before that, we've always sat in the section with families, and I mean, I'm if you go to every game, I mean, there's only so many people there most of the time, especially through February and March. So, and even most of April. So, you get to know these families, you get to know these parents, these brothers, these sisters, and like, I don't know Cooper very well at all, but his Tucker's mom and dad are they're the best, man. I mean, and his dad like that's what you can tell that's where that competitiveness comes from, right? I mean, just that, just that adrenaline, that juice flowing through. He wants the ball, and like one thing that I love, I did want to mention that probably my favorite thing about Tucker is he just wants to win. I mean, he doesn't. Um, it's not even about that he wants to be the guy to do it. It's not even that he just wants to win, period. He wants to contribute and he wants to win. And when you have guys that are that talented, a Team USA kid, I mean, with all the talent in the world, great prospect for the next level. I just be that selfless in terms of like, what do you need? Do you need me in the back end? Do you need me in some kind of middle relief? Oh, Jake Schweitzer's throwing really good. He's gonna kind of close. You need me in the seventh, eighth. Oh, you need me up front. Oh, you need 4 innings. You need 5 innings. Kid gives you anything. I mean, he's laid his heart, his blood, his sweat, tears on the line for this team this year in any role, completely selflessly. And I just like it's a team full of kids like that. But as one of the leaders of this ball club, displaying it in that way, and like it's not words, it's actions. And look, man, I mean, Tucker's as competitive as I've seen in this U of L uniform, but it's not just what's coming out of his mouth and that he's competitive and the fire that you see when he gets a big out. It's not just that. It's the what do you need me to do? I'll do it. And when you've got a team full of guys like that, you can play some special baseball in June. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing unfold kind of right before our eyes right here.
Yeah, I think it's really special to see a guy that came back and he was going to be the closer. Like that was his role, right? Like he knew going into the 2025 season, like he's the closer. That's his spot. He's earned it. And what, halfway through, 3/4 of the way through the season, the coaching staff is, uh, they're making changes because hey, we need to get you more innings. Like we're not able to get you on the mound as much as we want to get you on the mound. And had a couple injuries here, a couple injuries there, and Tucker's the guy that steps up and just kind of does it all, right? Like wherever you, like you said, wherever you need me, I'll do it, and that's exactly what he's done. And I think we talked about Matt Klein quite a bit, and he's a lot of the reason why Louisville's had some of the success they've had lately, but Tucker's a big part of that too, right? Like we were looking for somebody to step up and kind of be a third starter. Like we were kind of trying guys out here, trying guys out there, and then they put Tucker up there, and he's just been a dude the second part of the season, or I guess the last quarter of the season, and just been an absolute monster for this pitching rotation. And if it's not for him, I don't know if we'd be here right now. So I think he deserves a ton of credit for just kind of getting this team over the edge and being that extra leader and presence in the bullpen to kind of get us to this spot. And I'm just really happy for him to be able to have this moment again at home. Obviously, he was able to go down and pitch against Vandy in the regional down there at their place, and that was a big win. And just excited to see him build on that as he is continued able to get stretched out in games. We keep seeing that as he as the season progresses. So really excited to see what he's able to do tomorrow. Evan, great question. What bourbon am I drinking? Blanton's tonight. It changes all the time. I go from one to the next. I think I've said on here before. I drink based on how we're playing, right? So like if we're playing really well, I drink really good bourbon. And Blanton's isn't my favorite, but it's a good pour. So Blanton's tonight because we're obviously into the driver's seat in the super regionals. But I've got something special for tomorrow night if we win this thing. So Terry and I haven't talked about this, but hopefully we can come back tomorrow night and do a live and celebrate a super regional win. So that's the plan, and I'll have something different, and we can talk about that tomorrow night, Evan. So
You might be drinking from the bottle.
don't tempt me. I'll do it. I'll celebrate the dance recital and the super regionals right here, just straight from the bottle. Yeah. So tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. Those of you that can get there. Hope you're there. Hope you're loud. Hope you're early and stay throughout this thing. I haven't looked at the weather lately, but I think it's supposed to be quite a bit better tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I thought. I think earlier in the week they were talking about Saturday as a potential rain day, not storms, but rain. But I think it's going to be clear. So get out to the ballpark, support these boys. Put up a big attendance number today. 57, 76. But I don't see why there's any reason we don't shatter that tomorrow and inch up closer to 6,000. So, Terry, I know you will be there live bright and early tomorrow morning. I don't what time you plan on getting to the ballpark tomorrow?
Probably 8:45 tomorrow morning.
That's an early one for you, so not too terribly long from now. But it's all worth it, and these boys deserve everything. So, you were there today, able to catch all the action. I love when this part of the show, you get to plug your stuff because I think you do a fabulous job and you put in a ton of work for these guys. And there's nobody that spends more time at Jim Patterson Stadium than the players and the coaches than you do. You're there and on the road. I'm not that doesn't stop at Jim Patterson Stadium. You go with them too, wherever they go. So I always want to give you the opportunity to kind of plug your stuff where you are because Terry posts the post games with the players, coaches, all that good stuff. So anything you need to know, I myself watch his post. I always tell him I watch his because I know he's going to post them. So, Terry, tell them where they can find that information when you post it after every game.
Yeah, you can find any and all my stuff on my X account at Inside Ville BSB, Ville BSB. Yeah, I mean anything. I think I've said it before. Just kind of tweeting every half inning. I don't want to, not too many. I don't need to tweet you every single batted ball. I don't need to blow anyone's time. I don't need to just do that, period, for my own sanity. But also, I'm not sitting in the press box, so I'm not just sitting there on my phone or whatever. So, but yeah, I give you some half inning updates and whatnot. And but yeah, the post game stuff is probably what most people find. And I did want to say too, like I had even Coach McDowell's brother came up to me on the corner of Third and Central today as I was leaving the ballpark and said, "Hey man, love the podcast."
That's
So
awesome.
Dan's brother from New York in town said he loves the podcast. On the corner of Third and Central, he told me he loved the Third and Central podcast. So you can't beat that. But yeah, man, you can find any of the videos. I do every post game, home and away. I've done it. I've been at every game. I think I've said before for the last 3 years. No signs of slowing down soon. Let's keep this thing going to Omaha for sure. I'm ready to go and head out there. So let's get this thing done. But yeah, Inside Louisville Baseball on YouTube is where you can find all the stuff. If you don't want to do it there, but if you do want to go there, love if you would, subscribe to the thing or whatever you want to do. And but yeah, man, I mean, I'll send it. I'll send it right out there on my X account. If you don't, I'll put it out that way as well. So I appreciate anyone that watches. Again, like I said, I had several other people today say, "Hey, podcast." So for a long time, it was just this logo, and no one even knew what it was or any of that. Who was it? Who was it? So there's a face to it now, which I'm so I apologize to everybody that now there's a face to it, but no, it's a fun, it's a blast, and I appreciate everybody that follows along, like whether it's through just like my tweets or that watches the videos or that follows us here on the podcast. Like a sincere thank you again, like just for the platform here to you, Matt, for allowing me to be on here with you, and to the guys at State of Louisville, man. Like this is I have a blast doing this. So like I always try, we always are trying to make time to find, everyone's got other stuff going on in their life, but I mean, I love doing this. So like thanks to everybody who I don't even know how many people popped in tonight, but however many people popped in, appreciate it. And yeah, we'll love doing it. We're gonna keep it rolling.
Yeah, so we are currently up right at 853. So it's 14 minutes till midnight, and almost 900 people on listen to us two fools talk about Louisville baseball. So I'll take it. I always said when we did the podcast for a couple of years, and then we started doing the video to go along with it. I always said that I had a radio face, that I didn't need to be behind the camera, but I guess that's how the world has evolved. But we love those stories. Like you said, the Coach McDonald's brother, listens to the podcast, or people that come up and just say, "Hey, heard the podcast, love this, love that." It's just cool to see kind of how we get that fan interaction and all that good stuff, and we love everybody that follows along and sends us messages and responds to our stuff. So at least we know somebody's listening to what we have to say, right? That's the biggest thing. So. But no, like Terry said, just a big, sincere thank you to everybody. We love doing this. It's one thing that we try to carve out time for. Most of the time, we're ending around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning when we're doing this, because that's when things settle down with family life. So just appreciate everybody hopping along and following this journey with us tomorrow, and especially right now as we are looking to etch another berth in Omaha for the sixth time. So everybody, if you're able to go tomorrow, like I said, I wish I was going to be there, could celebrate with you. If we get to Sunday, I'll be there. But if you're there tomorrow, be loud, be proud, support these boys. They deserve it. Stay till the end. They put a ton of work into this thing, and they not only do they represent us well between the lines, they represent our university well outside those lines. So be there, be loud, and support these guys as we look for another super regional win and head out to the great state of Nebraska to celebrate a sixth appearance in the College World Series. So hopefully I will not see you on Sunday. But if I do, look forward to meeting anybody that I come in contact with, and anybody from the podcast that wants to give us a shout. So if not, you all pull out this thing tomorrow so we can just go ahead and etch our berth and put another 2025 out there on the outfield wall so we can get this thing rolling out to Omaha. But in the words of Sean Moth, we will see you at the ballpark.